Cool. All right. So today what we wanted to focus on was in our series of MFG 301, meaning taking that business value, applying it to a product, and letting you guys see how that works, right? See that in action. So today's topic, I chose AutoCAD Electrical. Also, we call it AutoCAD-E, right? So if you hear that terminology out there, AutoCAD-E, that's how I use it all the time, or ACE, ACE. So let's talk about, really quickly, review what we've talked about so far in some of our other classes, or our sessions or trainings. The biggest thing we talk about with AutoCAD Electrical, for me, from a presentation standpoint, is those top 10 reasons. All those pains we spoke about all come back to there's going to be some kind of feature or functionality that's going to help us achieve that goal. And these top 10 are what we have for AutoCAD Electrical, right? So you think of symbol libraries. I'm going to show all these today so you can see what they look like. But symbol libraries, automatic wire numbering and component tagging, reports, air checking, cross-referencing, smart panel layouts, electrical specific features, PLC I/O drawings, tracking drawing changes, reusing existing data. Right, so I'm gonna show most of these to you guys so you can see what they look like, so that you're aware of and talk again to the benefits of each of these that they bring to the table, so that when you're having conversations with customers who do some kind of electrical design, and that's why I think if we have on our next call to be the overview of AutoCAD Electrical, so you understand kind of the industry as well as kind of some of those key personas to talk to. So I think that'll be our next class, next session to work from. So other things to think about when you're talking about electrical, specifically with the new stuff we put in, is the electromechanical workflow, or mechatronics. So electromechanical, mechatronics, same thing, it's just reversing the words in the order that we do, but bringing a tighter integration with your electrical schematics into the actual physical 3D world. So those are the things we're going to talk about today. So with that, I'm going to hop over into product, and we'll show you guys what that looks like. So when I'm inside of electrical, when I talk to customers, first thing we point out is it's AutoCAD, right? So everything you can do in AutoCAD, you can do in AutoCAD Electrical, right? So here's all your regular AutoCAD commands, no problem, we keep doing it. One of the values that AutoCAD Electrical brings to you is the idea is it works in a project. Right, so you think of how everything is being worked and related together. It's mapped inside of a project, right? So here you can see I have different folder structures that are set up with different drawings in each one of those. You get a nice little preview of these drawings. But we work inside of a project, and how that is important is if I'm laying out a physical schematic, so the brains, how my components are going to work, and if I hit this button, the sequence is going to happen. That's all done in my schematics, right? But then there's also, to a schematic, there's also a physical layout or a footprint, right? So there's all the buttons that I've placed over inside of my schematic, right? Those are going to be tied together, and that's going to be really important when we show the bill of material structure, right? So you can see, make changes, and have everything update with inside our project. Typical pain from a customer is like, if I make a change here, then I got to go open that drawing and make a change, and I got to open that drawing and make a change, and that drawing and make a change, because that part is just referenced in multiple drawings or multiple views. With a project that ties it together, I place one component, I can place it in there, and we'll show you some of that. Talking about speeding up kind of productivity, 15 to 20% increase of productivity by just using some of these electrical commands to do your layouts. Because you'll see if I look at this wire, it's actually a physical wire. It actually has a gauge to it, right? So it actually lets me know this is 18 gauge red wire instead of just being represented as a line. And with that comes a little more intelligence, right? So I'm building intelligence into my drawings. Adding those is just click of a button, right? So to understand some of the pain customers might go through is they'd have to physically draw this wire, physically draw this node, and then they'd have to trim and edit that drawing to make that work. With electrical, you'll see it recognizes connections, right? So added benefit. These are just tedious tasks that your customers have to do manually today if they're not using electrical. right? So if I do other things, so these little loops, these wire loops you see on there, when that line crosses another line, I have to physically go in and draw that to make those representations. And this is just showing that a line is crossing a line in a schematic. It doesn't connect at that point, right? So ways that people kind of produce that. Right? Instead of trimming wire, right, you see it goes to connection points, right? So start, stop, kind of those segments. Quick tip tools, right, to increase our productivity. That's what those majority of these are for, is to increase your connectivity and allow you to do more with your data. So for instance, if I wanted to look for a push button, right, there's multiple ways that I can do that. I can come in here, I can grab a push button right from my list. So we'll do that again just because I want to spend a little bit of time here. All right, so we talked about component libraries. So think of anything and everything that has to do with electrical. I want some kind of representation of that. With electrical, it comes with over 1 million different part numbers, right? So you say, hey, I have this push button, right? It's going to be represented by some kind of part number. Well, where is that located, right? I have a database that's supporting that. You also notice those little cleanup tools. I mean, again, just talking about productivity enhancements. A lot of the tools are just productivity enhancements, right? So automatically trim that wire between those two connector points, right? It's productivity enhancements. If I look at this catalog, right, you can see here I can look up in a catalog, and I can filter for those components, right? You can see manufacturers, there's some descriptions, catalog numbers, right? So these are things that are important to your customer, right? Because bill of material information, right? Who manufactures it? What's the part number? What am I getting from there? How can I find those? Well, there's some easy searching tools, right? So I can see here, I can just search, find some part numbers, right? And what it's going to do, it's going to fill in those attributes on my drawing. Okay, so you can kind of see here, I have a part number, right? This is a component tag, right? So it's on line 403, so it's going to recognize it and build that out. We'll go back and search from that catalog again and grab that part. We didn't save it. Other thing, recent kind of, again, this is kind of new, this catalog browser, right? So with the 2015-2016 release, so I mean, you can make favorites. So just talk with the customers who, I only use so many components, right? Well, great, make a favorites list, or only include those that are available, right, in that process. So there we go. Fill out our catalog database information. All that information's tied to this, back to this push button. The other way you can import components is right from the browser, right? So here, if I wanted to search for another type, and this piece is important when we're talking about the catalog browser. When we're talking about connecting electrical and Inventor, this piece is important. And you'll see here that there's different representations, right? This part can be represented in multiple fashions. So I mean, it comes with those libraries, right? So automatically filling in those numbers, we'll just call this one a stop motor, and I'll say OK. So I want to stop there because we showed a couple things, right? We talked about the productivity enhancements that just schematic symbols and commands give you, as well as a database, right? Content's already populated. You're just reusing it, repurposing it. So there's a few different things there we talked about. Thinking back to that top 10, but I want to make sure you guys at least kind of have a feeling of what your customers can experience, with using AutoCAD Electrical.